If your squat is not improving, one of the reasons that might be happening is that you're picking the wrong secondary and accessory movements. Most lifters pick secondary movements that they enjoy or maybe that they've seen another lifter doing rather than ones that are targeted at their weaknesses. That's not really programming, that's just kind of guessing what might work. When you fail a squat, it's usually for one of three specific reasons, and if you can figure out what that weak point is and target it directly with your secondary and accessory movements, your squat will improve much more quickly than if you're just sort of guessing and throwing mud at the wall. I'm going to break down those three reasons, and for each one I'm going to give you 2 or 3 secondary movements that will help you target that weak point. The point of this video is not to give you 8 new movements that you need to include in every program. The point is to give you a framework to think about identifying weaknesses and fixing them and the tools to do so. Before I get into it, I have a free meet day planner in the description down below. Check that out if you need help planning out your comp day. It includes everything from like a packing list right down to how to pick your attempts on the day. The first type of failure is being weak in the hole, the very bottom of the squat. That can look like a few different things, but common ones are accidentally squatting high only when the weights get heavy, or being able to get into the hole but not being able to come out again. This is the most common type of failure for raw squatters, probably 85% of all squatters. And because of how common it is, if you're writing a program for somebody that you don't know, this is a good place to start. This is almost always because your quads are not strong enough. You can alleviate that a little bit with tighter or stiffer sleeves, but the only real solution here is to get really, really strong quads. Movement 1. High bar squats. Your quads are most active in the bottom range of motion for a squat. The high bar squat will generally push you into a slightly deeper position than like a low bar back squat will. The other interesting thing here is that your quads are actually maxing out their contribution to your overall squat at around 70% of your max. Putting those two things together, you can probably get a really good hypertrophy stimulus on your quads doing reps between 65 and 75% of your max. Movement 2, the safety squat bar squat, or the SSB squat. This is one of the most underrated movements that you can do. Like a high bar squat, it pushes you deeper into the hole than an ordinary back squat, and also you have to hang onto your core really, really tight because of the off-center nature of the bar. One thing to be aware of with SSBs is that they are not standardized. The weight, the camber, and the angle of the handles vary between bars. And so that means if you're moving between bars or moving between gyms, you may have to adjust the way that you load these a little bit. Movement number 3 is the belt squat. If you have access to a belt squat, you are absolutely blessed because they are not very common. If you can load a belt around your hips and have the weight pull you directly down, you almost completely eliminate your posterior chain from the movement and thus train your quads very directly. Because there's no loading on your spine, a lot of people can do this at very high volumes. And also, if you have back issues, sometimes this can give you a squat stimulus without further irritating your back. The second point of failure is the top half of your squat, and this is actually pretty uncommon in raw lifters, but you occasionally see somebody grind to a halt somewhere above parallel. This is much more common if you're looking at an equipped lifter, and sometimes it will also be accompanied by extreme knee cave or valgus. This is primarily a glute problem. Your glutes are most active from just above parallel through to lockout. So if they're not strong enough, that's the region where you get stuck. Movement number 1 to address this, high pin squats. Pin squats are an excellent movement to force you to avoid the range of motion you're already strong in, and therefore emphasize the other range of motion. You can actually lean into these a little bit. You don't have to try to fight to stay upright. And one of the cool things about pin squats is that they allow you to squat without further irritating knee injuries. In my opinion, this is one of the best exercises to work on your squat lockout. It's still a squat, but you can target the weak range of motion directly and you can overload it easily and well. Movement number 2, the Romanian deadlift. Now, these next 2 movements are actually not squats at all, but strength and hypertrophy are to an extent generalizable. If you get thick, strong glutes, it kind of doesn't matter whether you got them from squatting or hinging, they're still going to be good for your squat. Romanian deadlifts are a really good way to work your posterior chain, and if you can do a really good hinge, you can often load a Romanian deadlift really heavy. As a bonus, they'll probably help you deadlift a lot as well. Movement 3, any kind of hip thrust. Same as the RDL, not a squat, but big glutes are big glutes. Barbell hip thrusts are great, but they're kind of a pain to set up. So if you have a machine hip thrust or something like that as well, that is also fantastic. The important thing here is that your glutes are a really strong muscle, and that means you have to go very heavy to get good results out of these. The third failure point is a little bit different. This is less about being weak in a specific position and more about being able to repeat the same positions every squat. This is for the lifter whose squat looks different every single rep. The setup changes, maybe the bar path wanders around, and maybe you even fail at different points in different squats. If you can't repeat your technique, you can't express your strength reliably. So the movements here are about building the motor pattern as well as the muscle. Movement 1, tempo squat. Slowing the lift down forces you to stay in control of every phase. A typical tempo might be a 3-second count down, 1 second at the bottom, and then up as fast as possible. When you slow down things down, breakdowns in technique become really obvious, and you can't muscle through them in the same way with just going faster. This is one of the most underutilized tools for intermediate lifters who have sloppy technique under fatigue. Movement 2, the long pause squat. Similar to the tempo squat, this forces you to maintain a good position and a good brace, specifically at the bottom, which is a major pain point for a lot of lifters. If your brace or your position and the bottom falls apart, then the rest of your squat will end up being a shambles as well. So working on that directly can help a lot. You can also combine many of these things together. For example, you could do a tempo high bar squat if you think that you need both technical practice and stronger quads. Remember, I'm not telling you to go and add 8 exercises to your program right away. I am telling you to have a second look at your squat. See if you can identify where things are falling apart and then target those weaknesses specifically. If you're not sure where you're failing, film it. Show it to your friends, show a coach. Heck, you can show it to me if you like, and they can help you identify which bit is the problem. Now, if you liked this, I also have a video covering the same sorts of things for the bench press, which you can check out up over here.